Maria, I'm going to ask you something, and I want you to be brutally honest.
Ooh, I always am. Go ahead. I'm not afraid.
Okay. Would you own a Tesla?
No,
No, right
that
away.
was easy.
Wow, you didn't have to think about it.
Funny you asked me that. I was just reading an article about that. I don't know if you want me to.
Yeah, it's a controversial topic right now. But before we jump into that, we should probably let everybody know what phrase we're talking about today.
And what show they're listening to. Just in case,
Just in case they just tuned
from their
in.
nice Tesla.
Maybe they accidentally downloaded our podcast, but they meant to download something else. Well, this one is called
Just a Spanish phrase.
Wow, that came out nice.
I know.
At the same time. In Just a Spanish Phrase, we dig into the origins and the histories behind popular Spanish phrases, which you can listen to on our main podcast called
News in Slow Spanish.
But Just a Spanish Phrase is here to kind of unpack what these phrases mean, where they come from, and hopefully get you excited about then listening to them in Spanish and learn the language through them. But
now I am excited to know what in the world is the relationship or the relation between a Spanish expression and a Tesla.
Oh, very good question. So let's go back. It's a controversial topic right now, right? I mean, some people have really strong feelings about it, right?
Yes.
And I think with things like this, sensitive issues, people tend to, kind of talk their way around things. They don't say what they really mean.
Oh, well, it's not necessarily exactly that, but have you seen the stickers? I bought this car before I knew about the owner.
Exactly.
Is that related to our expression?
I think so. I think it's anything where you're not being very honest or where you're trying to kind of circumvent the truth or disguise the truth to soften it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what this expression is all about, because this expression is about the opposite. It's about being brutally honest, about calling things for what they are and not using euphemisms and things like that. Have you heard al pan pan y al vino vino?
Of course, to the bread and to the wine wine.
I know, to the wine wine. I've heard that expression as long as I can remember, My grandmother used to use it a lot.
Abuelita.
Abuelitas.
It's funny because I don't agree with being brutally honest in loving relationships.
Ooh. Okay.
I think honesty is very important, but sometimes by being brutally honest, you can be cruel.
Yes.
If somebody, I don't know, that they order and didn't work or, whatever it is, if it's something the person can change, a friend will let that person know, hey, you have something on your nose or you have a stain in your shirt. That's a nice honesty because you can change it.
But sometimes you have to soften the truth a little bit, right?
Even then, yes.
Yeah. Like, how do I look in these pants?
They look good.
Oh, you're not just softening that a little bit?
No, I would. But if it's something you could change, let's say if I didn't like those pants, I would say, yeah, you look good, but maybe next time, hey, those pants, maybe these ones look better than the other day. Something like that.
Yes, and that's where you would say al pan pan y al vino vino. Look, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to, tell you a little white lie. I'm just going to tell you how it is. Al pan pan y al vino vino. Those pants are not for you.
Well, it's funny you say that because the article I mentioned at the beginning of the show that I was reading about was this guy who pretty much used his savings to buy a Tesla. Back in the day when Tesla was supposed to be the nice electric car that will not contaminate and not contribute to global warming.
Ooh, I see where this is going.
And then a little bit somebody told, the owner of the company is crazy. And he was like, yeah, whatever. Like many owners of many companies are crazy and we still use the products.
Oh, that's true.
Right?
Yeah. Al pan pan y al vino vino.
But then he started becoming more and more involved in politics, the owner of that company. And now the owner of the car, he gets insults and he tried to sell the car. And I think prices are dropping and nobody wants to buy it.
Yeah, even car resellers are having a hard time, buying the car. They don't want to because they're having such a hard time selling it again.
Yeah.
So al pan y al vino, that brand is kind of toxic right now.
Yes, al pan y al vino. I mean, on the other hand, somebody else said, "Hey, Volkswagen is still used, and remember its origins." And I believe in democracy, but I also believe strongly in the power of the consumer.
Yes.
When you boycott a brand because you don't agree with the brand's practices, why not? That's a power you have as a consumer. So instead of spending however money you have in a car that is interfering in American politics, you might as well buy it in a car that is not interfering.
Yeah. Well, I think the stock prices for Tesla are kind of speaking for us on that
yes,
regard.
And the overall sales, I think they dropped 13% or something. But what other examples can we think of? Like, for example, calling the Venezuelan regime a democracy is not al pan y al vino.
No, that is definitely massaging the truth, at least. But before we jump into that, don't you want to know where this comes from?
Yes.
Al pan y al vino. Literally, bread to bread and wine to wine. So, most historians and etymologists agree that this is a reference to, let's see if you can guess. You were raised surrounded by Catholicism, I'm guessing, in Venezuela?
Yeah.
A little bit?
Yeah.
Do you know about the bread and the wine?
Yeah.
Yep. Body of Christ, blood of Christ.
Yeah.
It's a reference to that. But there isn't an agreement, like a consensus. What interpretation? Like why are we saying bread to bread and wine to wine? But there's one theory, not confirmed, but with all these ancient expressions.
I mean, these expressions are so old, it's very difficult to confirm the theories.
Exactly. But my favorite, and one that many etymologists agree is the most interesting, is that it goes back to the 15th century in Spain after the Reconquista, where the idea of Spain is being forged by the Catholic king and queen, right? They're forging the new empire as Spain. And there is a decree called the Alhambra Decree, which says to all the Spanish Jews living in the territories that are now being formed as Spain, either convert to Christianity, to Catholicism, or leave. So a lot of Jews decided to convert. Kind of didn't have a choice, right? It was an ultimatum. But, and this is what I love, as a form of silent protest, when they went to Mass, and they did the Eucharist, where you take the body of Christ, you eat the bread, and you drink the blood of Christ, you drink the wine. They were saying, let's call it what it is. Bread is bread, wine is wine.
That is a fascinating origin.
Yes, so among themselves, they were sort of saying, we'll do the ritual, we'll do the song and dance for you, Christian kings
but
and
I'm
queens.
just eating bread and just drinking wine.
Exactly.
This is not the body and the blood of Christ.
Exactly.
Wow.
Let's call it what it is. And there's an English equivalent, which is really interesting. Most people have probably heard this, calling a spade a spade. Have you heard of that one?
No.
That's the same meaning. It means let's call it for what it is. Let's not beat around the bush. Let's not dress it up and make it look nice. Let's, this is what it is. It's the same meaning.
I wonder what the origin is.
That one's really interesting too, because it comes from ancient Greek. I think Plutarch was talking about figs, but then many, many centuries later, a translation by Erasmus mistranslated the word for fig to spade. And that's where we get to calling a spade a spade.
Wow.
Yeah.
I thought it had to do with the cards,
Oh, like the suit spades,
yeah,
right?
exactly. Hard spades,
No, like the digging tool, like a little shovel.
Wow. Oh, mistranslations.
Yeah, I didn't dig into why figs were the original expression.
They were very popular in ancient times.
That's true.
Oh, still.
But back to bread and wine. Al pan y al vino. What were some examples of things where we need to be honest and call things for what they are? Did you have one?
Should I avoid politics or should
we never avoid politics here.
Okay.
And we don't avoid them in News and Slow Spanish either, by the way.
Yes, we shouldn't.
No, we have to report things as they are. We have to talk about things.
Al pan pan y al vino vino.
Exactly.
As they are.
Okay, give me one and I'll give you one too.
Do we have freedom of expression?
Oof.
Nowadays, I think we don't.
That's
I think for
right.
the first time in America, I was reading a notice by Penguin Random House, Hachette, many all the major publishers asking for the government not to shut down libraries because apparently they want to do that.
Yeah, and there's so many campaigns to ban books too. That's
Ban
been going on for
books,
years.
remove visas of students who express their opinions. So, al pan pan y al vino vino. This is not what I understand by freedom of speech, which I think is the foundation of any democracy.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And okay, another quick example is everybody's talking about the tariff wars, right? I've heard people talking about this as like, oh, we have a sick economy and this is just medicine. It's gonna be bad, but then it's gonna be good again. No, let's call it what it is. Let's call a spade a spade. It's a disaster.
Al pan pan y al vino vino.
So
we ran out of time.
But if you like talking about things for what they are, right? Honestly, saying things as they are, you should come check out News and So Spanish because we talk about things as they are. And we have a great tool for our subscribers called Rooms,
where you can practice conversation in Spanish with other subscribers and with us.
That's right. With us, we show up there all the time. So, hope to see you there. And until our next episode of Just a Spanish Phrase, keep calling
things by their name.
Yeah.
Al pan pan y al vino vino. Adiós.